How's everybody doing? We are doing the Flat Out Investments and WTS Dynamics podcast number 8. We are speaking to Lara Luft from Germany, and she's a amateur. Actually, not even amateur, right, Laura? You're pretty much kind of semi-professional at this point, correct?
Kind of. Thanks, Abby,
Okay.
for inviting me.
Okay, so semi-professional, on her way to be full professional race car driver, which is awesome. And we obviously have 4 topics we're going to cover on each side. I have 4 topics, she has 4 topics. And in this episode, we're going to go a little bit differently. I'm actually going to be doing my questions first, and then we'll do vice versa. So it's pretty awesome because Laura came up with 4 awesome topics that I can't believe. I was I wish that all my guests would come up with these type of topics. So take a note, guys, because seriously, these are great questions. Let's go to the questions real quick. Okay, so the first topic was actually, let's do a little bit of an intro, Laura. If you can give me just a quick snippet of, obviously, obviously we know you're from Germany, but how did you? First question that everybody wants to obviously know is, how did you get into racing? Because that's number one.
Yeah, thanks so much. Probably this will take ages to tell, but I'll give you a short version.
Try to do the short version.
Yeah,
Since
I
you're
try.
most of the time.
So when I was a child, I actually followed everything which was on TV, like Formula One, NASCAR, ERL, DTM, American Le Mans series, whatever was there. So I loved to watch the races and also played with my little Matchbox cars on a car carpet. And I always had the dream to just one day I want to be like that. And my parents said, yeah, just first study, get your stuff right. And then karting is too dangerous. Don't do this. No way. So, and then I thought, okay. At the age of 24, which is super late for motorsport, but anyway, I just wanted to start this. So I started with go-karting, and now I just made my way up to the race car.
Wow, awesome. And karting, you did a couple years?
Yeah, actually, I did karting almost 7, 8 years, and then I
Wow.
swapped to the car, and I still do karting, but of course, I have to finance everything myself. That's why
Right.
everything goes right now into a race car.
Wow, very impressive. That's something that you're even kicking my ass at because I haven't I mean, I've done a little bit of karting, but I haven't gone, 7 years. That's a lot of years. That's a lot of experience. So that's pretty amazing. And so for karting, you did most of your racing, I'm guessing, there in Germany, right?
No, I also raced internationally. I never had a go-kart myself, so I started with endurance racing anyway. And I raced in Dubai, and also I won a championship and a 24 hours race in Italy. So I was also racing in Spain. But this is all endurance. That means you don't have your own card, you don't do sprint
Right.
racing, and that means you're not really like a professional in that way because the professionals are only having their own cards. But I love the endurance. I love to be in a team together, and also did the 77-hour race and a 99-hour race as a world record.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you may I ask who you were racing for? Was it CRG? Was it Tony Kart? Um,
It was not a brand, but it was called GTC. This is a German team championship.
okay.
This is just more famous in Germany. And also with the international races, I was racing then in Dubai in their 24 hours racing series. And also in Italy, there was a ETKC. It's called the Italian Team Karting Challenge or
Okay.
Championship. So this is more like a local one for endurance racing. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. That's that's pretty. And how did you even? And real quick before we switch to the questions, how did you? Because a lot of people always asking, how do you even contact the company and say, hey, listen, can you let me borrow one of your go-karts so I can go racing? I mean, it's they want to see a rap sheet, they want to see a little bit of history. So how did you go about that?
Actually, because when you do the endurance racing, you just buy in yourself into a team and then you normally have testing. And then they say, all
Okay.
right, you're quick and you go to team A or B. A or B
Okay.
is like the B team is like the slower one, or the A team is the pro team.
Okay.
And then you just have to race against the pros and then you just make your way up and then they decide where you will be in the team. And normally you stick to one or you change if you don't like the structure. But I stick to one team quite a long time for 3 years, and then I swapped all the time in between. And I also had invitations to actually race, and I was so honored for that. Racing in Dubai twice for a Dubai team, and also they were sponsored as well from Abu Dhabi, and this was
Mhm.
insane because you normally don't get that chance. But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Wow, absolutely amazing. Yeah, so they put you obviously in that classification. Did you get to be in the fast team first, the pro team, or did you kind of fall in between?
Funny because normally everybody just wants, and even if you're a woman, I mean, this is just a typical stereotype we always hear all the time. You have to prove harder. And I
Right.
had an accident in 2013. I injured my knee, so I had a
Oof.
surgery. And after that, they told me, yeah, just be in the B team. But I was faster than the guys in the A team. So they were like, oh, I'm sorry, we have to swap you. I said, yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. Don't put me in the slow team fuckers, you know?
exactly.
Awesome. Very cool. Wow, and you had a knee injury and how did are you okay with that? I mean, is that something that's still affecting you or was it minor?
No, I had a crucial ligament because I was also doing kickboxing challenges. So I'm kind of
Shit.
into action sports, I would say.
Awesome.
And we had a sparring, and yeah, I injured the knee, so I had to do 1 year of pause, which was like crazy for me. But I just fought my way back, and even in the same year, I made my 24 hours in Dubai because I wanted to be back in a go-kart. Yeah,
Wow. And you were from surgery to getting back in a couple months before you went racing again?
yeah, it was 6 months to prep after the
Wow.
surgery. Yeah.
That's I don't know what you're doing. You're like a superhero. You should be we should make a movie about you because that's
Oh,
pretty
please,
amazing.
yeah, would
That's
love to.
pretty awesome. Okay, cool. So we're gonna switch over to the topic. So the first question you asked me, which was awesome, was what was your key driver to start the business you run at the moment? So that was like, well, that's the whole inspiration for this whole thing, especially what we're doing right now. So FLATOUT Investments, it was actually it was funny. I had a company called AG Supercars for a long time. I've had it for almost 6 years. And AG Supercars was the company that I was mainly doing all type of basically I hate the word. I hate this word, but unfortunately it is what it is. Brokering. I was brokering supercars, hypercars, but I wasn't your usual broker because the problem is that I'd say in the past 10 to 12 years, what had happened was that the market got saturated with brokers. And what happened was because of technology, how easy it is to share any type of media today, a lot of people were just playing off the broker card. And what I mean by that is that there was just too many amateurs that were just, they were developing what's called broker chains. We had literally sometimes 15 people in between the seller and the buyer.
Wow.
And it's horrible. It's completely tainted the market. It's very difficult to find. The problem is that when the people would see that, like when I would ask for proof of, let's say, proof of life, which is literally a proof of a person being there at the car at the time with, usually most people would ask for a written or a typed piece of paper on top of the car with that date, whatever date you wanted. It had to have that date, or usually it would be today's date, the current date, and it was a problem. When I jumped into it, I started realizing how bad these broker chains were. Sometimes, I mean, there was one time that I thought that I had gotten close to a McLaren F1 because I really wanted to, with AG Supercars, I was really trying to concentrate on the rarest examples, hypercars, supercars, vintage race cars. I didn't want to do the norm because obviously everybody else is doing that anyway. So to try to make a profit on that is very difficult.
Mm.
And for me to concentrate all the energy on the hypercars, obviously with those, there's much, much bigger margins as far as profit goes, if you can get them sold. So it was about a good year and a half, 2 years of learning experience of just going through all the what I call swimming through the bullshit, because that's what it felt like. Is every time I thought I was close to a real car, it ended up there was 15, 20 people involved, and anybody in the business will tell you it'll never happen. The most that you're looking at to do a real deal most of the time is nothing past three, I'd say probably three, maybe four people pushing it. Anything beyond that, don't even think about it. You're going to waste your time. So I learned the hard way. And slowly but surely, after about 2 years, the whole concept of the company was that I had developed a lot of relationships with, high profile people in the supercar and the hypercar world, going to racetracks, going to coffee, and just like you, having a passion for cars my entire life. Since I was 3 years old, literally my first word that came out of my mouth was not mom, it wasn't water, it was car. So it was obviously it was something that was just in my genes. I mean, my grandfather used to race motorcycles, so and my mom and my grandma, they used to love cars as well. So and it was something that was just kind of natural that I decided, okay, so AG Supercars will be the company that I'm going to do for all the sales of supercars and other things as well. I wanted to also get into the exotic rental car company, which is something that we'll talk about later on, but I also got into as well. And so that's all AG Supercars. And then, so FLATOUT Investments was kind of the mother company that has an umbrella, and it has an umbrella for AG Supercars, and then it also has the umbrella for it's WTS Dynamics is also underneath FLATOUT Investments. And with FLATOUT Investments, with the name itself, I thought, I'd been watching Joe Rogan for probably since it's been almost 10 years since he started doing podcasting, but it was around 7 year mark that around the second year mark that I started watching him. And slowly I started just thinking, you know what, I can do this. This is easy. Like, this is just being passionate. Like, if you have a passion for something, just talking to somebody very interesting with the same type of passion and having a natural conversation. Most people can do this, as long as you have good social skills. So I decided finally that with FLATOUT Investments, what I was going to do was make a podcast. And I started, the podcast has been around for about, officially about 8 months this past year. So yeah, that's your first question answered basically in a nutshell. Laura, the second thing that you asked me was, did you ever race on a track? And if so, where? Or do you want this? And the question is, yes, I always want this. I should have been a Formula One race car driver. That was my dream. But as you said, if you're 36 years old and you're trying to get into F1, you're not on the right planet.
Exactly.
Because
a lot of problems.
it's not going to happen unless you have quadrillion dollars. Then you could buy your own Formula One racing. Then you can go racing, no problem. But good luck trying to compete against, a 36-year-old. And as tough as I am and as much endurance as I have, it's going to be very difficult to compete with 24-year-olds and 26-year-olds and 22-year-olds and 21-year-olds. Yeah. So the next level of something that I've always wanted to do, I'm still trying to do very much so, is get into Le Mans, because Le Mans, you could even be in your 60s and 70s and go to Le Mans if you really have what it takes. So that's something that I've been shooting for a while. Did I ever race on a racetrack? Yes, I have. Homestead is the nearest, Homestead Speed Raceway is the nearest racetrack to me here in Miami. So I've raced there several times at a couple of the events that they've had. They have Fair 500, and I've been to that. I had a lot of fun. I had a good friend of mine that had a C6006 when they first came out, and he turned into a race car, basically, or track car, purpose-built track car, and spent a lot of money on the car. Spent about $40,000 prepping the car to properly race on the racetrack. So he was kind enough to, lend me the car and start getting some, some real track time. And funny story was that when I went out with the instructor, just to make sure that you know what you're doing, I scared the shit out of him. It was funny. There's a famous turn, I believe it's turn 10 at Homestead Speed Raceway. It's kind of crazy because it comes from a bank, because Homestead Speed Raceway is actually developed for NASCAR racing. Yep. But the way they do it is that I'm sure they have the NASCAR, the ring outside, and then inside of that, they have a track that they formed for, for professionals, for people that actually want to go racing, not NASCAR. So it was interesting because turn 10, what it does is it comes from the bank of one of the curves, and it goes straight into the middle of your next turn, and your next basically the following you're going from right into an inbound turn left, and then you go into the inside part of the racetrack. Yeah. So what happens is that, I'm sure you've probably felt this at the Nurburgring many times. Which by the way, guys, Laura, how many times have you raced at the ring? How much?
In total, I think it's now 15 races.
Wow, that's amazing. So she has raced at the ring 15 times. That's absolutely ridiculously insane. The Green Hell is, as you all know, the mecca for racetracks. So we all have to give her a round of applause, because that's pretty amazing, Laura. I definitely give you a lot of credit for doing as much as you have, because a lot of people. I actually spoke to another amateur race car driver, very cool person. Her name's Annika, and she's here in the States, and she also is doing almost like what you're doing. She's funding her own passion, and she still has a day job, but on the weekends she's going out racing, which is pretty amazing. So she's done a pretty cool a bunch of different events, and we had a great conversation as well. You could check out her podcast. I'll send it to you so you can kind of
Mhm.
listen to someone that's like you, but obviously you're in Germany. You're right there with the ring, so it's a little bit easier for you to go to the ring than her. Um,
Exactly.
so, anyways, to finish what I was saying, so yeah, so there's this. The thing is, when you're coming down, when you're coming down from that curve, you're doing about most cars are doing about 110, 120. The C6 Z06 Corvette with the 427 is a fantastic platform. You can get up there real quick, and I was doing about 145. And when we came down, there's this little bit of it's not an elevation change, but it's the curvature from the curve that meets the flat pavement. And
Mhm.
you have to be very careful because obviously it bigs it what's that called? It makes a big movement as far as the suspension goes. It throws off the geometry of the suspension. So if you're not ready and if you're not actually on the accelerator and you let go, which on this and actually crashed, they'll lose complete control of the car and they'll either spin off into the grass or they hit a wall. And it was really funny. Literally before I was about to go into the racetrack, guess what was right next to me? It was a 996. It was at the time, this was a while back. 996 GT3, brand new. Literally, the guy had just purchased it. It was a month old. He had hit that section. Obviously, in a Porsche, you know how it is. The most of the weight is in the back with the engine, and he didn't stay on it like he should have. He didn't counter steer properly and fast enough, and he spun off and he actually hit the wall. The car was wrecked. So it was kind of a moment of surrealism where it was like, hey, look, this is the real thing. Like you fuck up here, you're gonna you're gonna wreck your car. So it was a cool experience. Um, your third question was what is your key priority for 2021? That's a really good question. Key priority, I think, right now for FLATOUT Investments and everything I'm doing is try to get a big momentum going because obviously COVID slammed the brakes on everybody, with
Yeah.
everybody, the entire world has kind of been brought to a halt. So I really want to try to bring, I have to come up with some goals that I've been working on this past couple months, and once things get going, which obviously here in the States, I don't know if in Germany things are kind of getting back up and running, but over here in the States things are kind of starting to even out a little bit. They're starting to neutralize.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
in Germany if it's the same.
yeah, it's tricky because everybody is just having more infections, so the numbers are rising. It will be hopefully not coming to a stop again, but it's
Mhm.
it's still tricky.
Awesome. Yeah, it's the same here. I mean, things are like restaurants just now this past week got the okay to finally go to, I think it's 80% capacity instead of 50%. So yeah, my goals, I mean, I have a lot of goals, crazy goals, that's for sure. But I think too much to talk about. I want this to be a little more about you. So we will definitely probably have a second podcast and we can go over that in detail. But yeah,
Yes,
the
please.
the the main goals are it's a lot. Flat out investments, I really want to get to a point where because my goal for the podcast is this, and I know it's a big goal, but you have to have goals because without that, then you don't have inspiration. Without inspiration, why the hell are you living? So
Yep.
um,
True.
my goal with the podcast, to tell you the truth, is to become the Joe Rogan of the automotive world. That's really what my goal with this entire thing is. It's very difficult, as you could see, even with you. Actually, with you, it was very direct. But I actually have another podcast set up that was supposed to be done 2 days ago with another girl. Actually, she's been getting a lot of track time as well, and she's avid car girl, and we were supposed to do the podcast on Wednesday, and then she had some things come up, so we couldn't. So we rescheduled for Thursday, and that didn't work out. And then obviously today's Friday, so I said, listen, I'm actually speaking to another one in the morning. Her name's Laura, so let's do it after this. So I actually have another podcast lined up to you. So it sounds like it's a very easy thing to do, but trust me, it's hard. Like people have a lot of things to do, and to schedule this and to even take 1 hour of someone's time today, it's asking a lot. So it's you really have to you just have to keep on pushing, just like with YouTube recreation videos and social media videos today, or excuse me, everything that has to do with social media. You just have to keep on posting. You have to keep on pushing. You have to keep on lining up things for every single week and every month. And then at one point, you'll start feeling the momentum just kind of take over itself. So, yeah,
True. Yeah. A lot of time goes into that, but it's what we like and we like it.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's passion. So as long as you're doing that main thing, and I've heard this over and over and over with a lot of billionaires and multimillionaires, and obviously it's easy for them to say this, but you have to follow your passion. If you
Yep.
don't, you're just gonna end up dying and with no purpose. And that's probably one of the worst things that can happen to a human is that. So your last question, which is my favorite, obviously. What is your ultimate dream car? Oh my God, that's like, I'm gonna ask you the same thing. That's for a car guy and such a gearhead and a car enthusiast as myself, I swear to you, that's a very difficult question. If you ask me that right now, there's so many amazing, ridiculous, insane cars that all have their amazing disadvantages, advantages.
Mhm.
I
Just pick one.
it's too many. It's too many.
I know, but same here. But
because let's do this. Okay, let's modify your question, even though I never have done this, but I want to modify your question. So let's do this. Your ultimate dream car as far as a hypercar. Why don't we divide it into 4 categories? Hypercar, supercar, race car, or vintage race car? So you pick, and then I answer.
supercar.
Supercar. Okay, good. Well, I'm half Italian, so if I didn't say anything Ferrari, I'd probably be kicking my own ass. But as far as supercar, well, the LaFerrari, the P1, and the 918, the Porsche 918 have been out for a little bit. And it's been almost 6-7 years. If you told me to take a pick between those 3, but you know what? Those are hypercars, so I don't know what the hell I'm smoking. I'm smoking crack today. I'm sorry. So let's go back to supercars. Supercar, I think I'd probably have to go with the Ferrari Tributo that just came out now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably have to pick that as my, like, if you ask me right now, what's your ultimate supercar? I think that would be it. I'd have to make some changes. It would be between that and a Lamborghini Huracan, probably the Performante. But both of them, I would have to go to underground racing and do the 3,000 horsepower twin turbo kits. That would be my ultimate supercar.
But I'm so lucky that you said Lamborghini, because that's also one of my lists. I'm on the other Italian branch, so that's why Lamborghini is something I would pick as well. Yeah.
Of course, but of course you would, because it's really owned by you know who. It's really owned by Audi, which is German, so that's why you're picking that. But I like the fact that you're not picking the R8. How about that? I like the fact that you actually went for a little bit of both. You know, the Italian flair with the German engineering. I like it.
Exactly, yeah. So actually, I'm not a fan of super Audi cars, to be honest. So, but what should I say? So I made my part. You can't be beating for Ferrari or Lamborghini. That's why I picked Lamborghini anyway. But it will be the Aventador SV. So
yes.
But also the Performante. Yeah, I love them as well. I have so many. I've driven the Urus and I've driven the Gallardo. And what is insane is the Veneno, but this is priceless. But yeah. Well, let's see.
Well, actually, wait a minute. You know what? I think you just fucked me up because I misspoke. Can I retract? Can I retract my Ferrari?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I fucked up on this. Well, this is why this is probably why I don't want to retract it. Actually, we'll go back to hypercar. I consider, okay, so my ultimate, most insane, and this is, I consider this for supercars, hypercars, for every category, because it really is kind of, because of the weight, it's really, I think it, but it's not. It's just because the weight doesn't make it a supercar, hypercar. It really is a supercar with hypercar abilities, and that would be the Sesto Elemento.
Mm-hmm.
When that car came out, I was like, oh, like that was the most. And then when they said the weight, 2,200 pounds, the entire thing is carbon. You don't even have a seat. You're sitting on pads that are stuck to the carbon monocoque. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is. I was so amazed when Lamborghini actually put that out, and it really was a slap in the face to Ferrari, because Ferrari has yet to even come up to something close to that.
Yep.
So I would say, but again, it is a supercar, so you know what? With hypercar abilities, I'm going to retract my the F8 Tributo. I'm going to go with the Sesto Elemento.
Good choice.
Yes. So, and your choice is awesome too, because since you didn't go with the R8, but the the R8 and the what is it that you don't like about the R8? The styling? Is it that you just?
No, I don't like Audi in particular. So I'm BMW girl. So that's the thing. I just if you stick to a brand, then you stick to it. I've driven, my first car was an Audi A80, but really I love BMW, and that's why I've chosen this, and just Lamborghini because I like edgy cars, not curvy cars. So that's why I love this one.
And they look amazing, and they sound amazing. The 5.2 liter V10 that they've had in that, it's just I don't know if you've seen Laura. Have you seen the company called Underground Racing that does the twin turbo kits that go up to 3,000 horsepower?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yummy.
It's amazing. No, it's ridiculous. It's the fact that that company. Actually, I've been trying to line up a podcast with them. So hopefully, after I tell them that we talked about this, they might go like, you know what? Yeah, let's have a podcast with these guys. Um,
Let's
so
keep fingers crossed for that. Yeah.
yes, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to your questions. Because if not, we're going to run out of time, and I definitely don't want that to happen. So, the question that I had asked you, the first one was how you came to the decision to get into the world of automotive racing, which we kind of covered with the karting, but we'll take it a further step from that, as well as the history of your car ownership throughout the years. Go.
Yeah, so racing, I just picked it up already. So I'm as my hashtag is passion per definition. I guess
Okay.
this comes with it. So I can talk hours about cars, racing, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really into that. I really love the sound. If I'm even at the racetrack, not racing, just standing there, I'm just smiling all the time. So I'm the happy camper there. And I really love racing. It's just like the moment when you sit in the car, and you just put your visor down and just put pedal to the metal, and then you feel like this is my moment. So it's unbelievable. If you never have experienced that, this is like crazy, and you know it how it is. So that's why it's good to talk to people who know how crazy we can be. So yeah.
Oh yes.
That's why I really love it every day. And yeah, my ultimate goal would be then to race the 24 hours races in a car as well, because I've done it in a kart. So I want to do this in a car. So that's my next steps. And yeah, also Le Mans, I know it's crazy. This would be the ultimate dream. But I mean, you need a lot of money, and also then the cars to race in. And I mean, I'm driving now the M240i, which is not really like a super GT4 car or GT3 car even, but I like it, and hopefully I have the chance. And I had the chance already to drive an M4 GT4 on the racetrack, which is amazing. And depending on how I can finance it myself or get some sponsors, then this would be the next steps I try to do. And yeah, owning my own cars. I mean, this is really, it's a funny story. So because the Audi was just, of course, a small 90 HP car, and I had to take it. It was front wheel drive, which I'm actually not a super fan of, but take what you get, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I own still since it's 20 now, my car, and I had it since 2005. It's my BMW E46 330 Ci. That's
Fucking
my
awesome.
one.
E46 powers. That's what I'm talking about. What color is it? Please tell me it's LSB.
It's silver.
Laura, that's it. We can't be friends. I'm done. You went after an E46 and you didn't choose the most amazing color on the face of the planet?
No, the problem is it was just not me picking it. It was mostly my dad just saying, hey, would you like this? And I said, no, I want to have a black one. But he said, no, black is just like, it gets too dirty, you just take the silver one. And as he helped me finance it halfway, that's why I couldn't say, oh, yeah, I changed the color.
You couldn't be too picky. That's very amazing.
Yeah,
very nice.
So I was happy that I get it.
Was it manual, right? No SMG?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just check. Well, no, because SMG when they first introduced the E46 was not a bad thing at all. It actually was one of the reasons why most of the manufacturers after now 10 years have the dual clutch transmissions and the single clutch transmissions that they have today. But yes.
Yeah, I think I have to say I would have picked it in a different color, but I'm really happy I have the silver right now, to be honest, because I'm quite busy. And yeah, cleaning it myself all the time is a bit time consuming. So I'm happy that it's not looking dirty all the time, because I hate dirty cars. Yeah. I hate it. So I always go to brush my car as much as I can. And also I have just a super clean, neat car on the inside. And I just tune it a bit. So, but tuning, probably everybody will laugh at me. It was just like changing the wood interior against a carbon interior, because I hated the kind of old.
Oh my God, you had a silver. Wait a minute, the silver E46 had the wood trim that you would usually. Oh my God.
It was I don't know how to call it, but this is a normal. It was a car who was owned by BMW, and I took it for rides to just present the car, and this was the one I could choose, and there was nothing I could do either. And I said, "Sorry, who is doing this?" Car. Yeah, but who is doing this to a car? You don't pick this kind of combination. If you have an M kit, you don't have wood interior.
Especially the Germans. Like, what? Who approved this? What?
I know.
Someone fucked up. That was
exactly. That's why I said, okay, I have to change it to carbon. This is what I did this year. Yeah, but
So
this is
your
not my
car thinks.
ultimate dream car, but well.
No, listen. Hold on. And I'm glad you brought this up. And I will have to go. We're gonna have to make a second podcast only talk about BMW, and then we go crazy detail. But the what a lot of people don't realize today, especially young kids today, they don't know shit about cars. The millennials are just, oh my
Yeah, I
God, they're
know.
fucked. But the E46, E36, E30 still today has one of the best suspension geometries ever created and engineered for a street car ever
Yep.
on the history of automobiles.
And
So,
the engine.
and the engine, obviously, of course. Well, that your car thanks you, and that's awesome that you put the carbon interior. So now you have the carbon trim. You're good to go. You don't like your eyes don't hurt when you go
Yeah.
inside the car.
Yeah, that's the main part. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we have the Audi. What was it? Audi A3.
880.
880. Okay, and then you have the E46 M3.
That's it.
Okay, cool. And those are the
But
only two cars.
yeah,
Like
that's
as
my
far
only
as
two cars.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, only two. That's still two more than most people. So
Exactly.
awesome. Okay, and so then so let's go to automotive racing. So when you went from karting to, how did you make the jump from karting to full-blown race cars, like GT cars?
Yeah, I just saved over the years when I was karting a lot of money still to try to have 10,000 euros available for racing. And then I just spent this entire budget on a full season in a Dacia Logan, which is like also 90 horsepower, front wheel drive, extremely slow. Didn't like the car at all, but was the only season I could
The
finance
only
myself
okay,
completely, 9 races. So I wanted to do it and also have the experience of being with other cars around the track and getting to learn and don't any. I mean, if I crash, it was just cheap, right? So I thought,
right,
okay, this is safe to be. But then it was clear I don't want to have this car at all again, and also I want to be on the Nordschleife. So that was clear that I have then to swap the team and also to swap the other cars. And luckily, I had a Z4. Then in my first race in the rain on the Nordschleife after 4 laps I ever did there. So yeah, I survived. And from there I just made my way up. Yeah.
Well, see, now that would be the only time that I would say that having a front-wheel drive car is to your advantage when it rains, but not so much so on the curves, but more in the straightaways. So yes.
Yeah, but with the Z4, it was on the Nordschleife. Then funny part because I mean I know how to drive rear-wheel drive, and this is what I'm pretty much like because I know the racing line and I don't have to swap my mind around. And this is why I was kind of also safe even in the rain with the Z4.
Awesome. Oh, so in the rain it was with the Z4. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. That's amazing. And as far as you said, racing line at the Nurburgring, it's like racing billion lines because there's about, it's how many? It's 130. I always get this wrong. 140 turns, 147.
Yeah, if you ask me
It's
right,
around
this
there.
I think it's 133, one's
Uh,
right and then left, and yeah, I always mix it up myself. But
yeah,
it's overall it's nearly 25 kilometers if you have the 24 hours layout. So yeah,
correct. And it's
it's a
insane.
lot, and you have to memorize every corner. And it always
Yeah,
changes, of course, if it's raining and if it's snow
yeah,
and if it's foggy and if it's sunny
mhm,
and in betweens.
of
But
course.
you normally have one line you just pick most of the times because then you know where the bumps are and you know where you can really have ultimate grip. But
Right.
of course, yeah, the conditions change your racing line.
Of course, all the time. Of course, that's normal. And then I would say also your how does the carousel? Because obviously the carousel is I think one of the probably the most difficult thing to master correctly, right?
That's the easiest one.
Really?
I always
Okay.
overtake people there because
Okay.
I'm just faster in and out. You just have one point where you just go in, and this is exactly the same time you do it all the time again. And if you jump out, it's all the same time. So I even cannot tell at which kind of changing in the asphalt it is, but it's always for me the same line I go in and out. I don't change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't change the trajectory. You don't really. There's no strategy. It's just I'm hitting that same race line that I always hit, and it
Yeah.
shoots you right out. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so next question. Where this was the question as well, is where your car love and passion started and all cars you've owned since the beginning. So we kind of covered that in the first question. I kind of messed up my question there. So that we covered. Your love and passion obviously started at a very early age, like you explained. So we went through that.
Mhm.
And then I put talking all about the now very well-known coronavirus and its effects on the automotive industry and future history, things to come going forward. So obviously for you, I think it would be interesting for everybody to know what's going on with the racing world, like how it's affected your, your season.
Yeah, like luckily we could drive on the Nordschleife because they have changed the layout. So normally we are in the pits, and now they just have the Corona kind of circuit around it. So in the pit garage, where normally the trucks were standing, then we had the change of the drivers, and then we also had to go back into the pits to just refuel. That helped a bit to be just in the free air and fresh air and not within the bits in the box. But
Right.
at the 24 hours race, they changed it because there were only 100 cars. They went all into the pits again or in the box again. But they try to change this as well for the last races we have. But we started super late, and this is the problem because then now the weather conditions everybody knows in the Eifel and also at the Nurburgring change all the time. And even if it's getting colder, you have snow and ice and everything you don't want.
Right.
So, and it affected some of the teams. As we have seen in 24 hours, even there were just so less teams. 100 teams is just like nothing. Normally you have up to 200, and many drivers couldn't come because they were driving in Le Mans and as well got tested positive, so they couldn't drive. So they had to find other drivers, and this was kind of pretty insane. And you still see some teams are completely ruined, and it's tough. And as well with the decision, also with the discussion around this is not environmental friendly, and we have to be eco-friendly in that sense that we only drive electric. But don't get me started with this topic. I go nuts with this.
Oh my God. No. That we'll have to have a completely separate podcast on that, because that's something that even California over here, I don't know if you know, but I think the governor said that he's fucking crazy. By 2035, 32 or 34, I think, don't quote me, but it's around there. He's going to ban the ability for manufacturers to sell anything that's not electric in California. Yep. It's scary stuff, but we'll cover that in a separate podcast. That's a whole crazy, insane conversation.
Exactly. So, but let's hope that we can go back to the passion, the racing, everybody just trying to fight for this like crazy, and hopefully 2021 is a bit better. But as you also see and also know, and everybody knows it around the world, I mean, many manufacturers, companies related to motorsport also have really financial problems, and they don't invest anymore, and also they don't sponsor. This means many drivers are sitting on the street and they're professionals. So I have my budget, I'm fine. I'm just more like doing this as my hobby, right? So I have my income, but for others, this is their income, so they don't have nothing. But let's hope that this crisis is over soon, and there will be a vaccine for that, maybe 2021, and we can look forward to a better 2022, hopefully then from that one.
Yeah, I would say that this is one of those events that unfortunately probably we're going to kind of like 9/11, I'd be selfish to say, but you know how 9/11 changed the entire travel industry, and it's still today we see the effects. I think that unfortunately it's going to be like that. Hopefully it's like what you said, and I really do hope that things will be able to start back up. I mean, I do see the pushback on certain things. I do see that there's going to be a lot of legislation that we are going to have to worry about. I'm hoping there's this whole thing with Bill Gates trying to push now this vaccine, and that's I mean, everybody should have the right to say, hey, look, you can't force inoculation should not be a thing, but that's another thing that's going on here in the States and politics stuff, so we're not going to get into that because that's all bullshit. So awesome.
Not making it easier.
Making it very difficult. Okay, so then my third question was, we kind of covered, but it goes a little more into your personal cars. So it's, what type of activities do you use your high performance cars besides circuit racing? And then I put drag racing, street racing, and cars and coffees. So that's kind of a question. Have you maybe used your E46 for any cars and coffees, or maybe even done a little bit of drag racing or some street racing? That's something I was very interested in knowing.
Yeah, so my private car just only took, I know, but my private car I took only one lap, a tourist drive on an Nordschleife, because for me, I don't do tourist drives. That's too dangerous. And also my car is too old, so to say. It's 20 now, so I don't want to do this. Oh, yeah, it's 20. Yeah, 20. I don't want to do this to my car. So just to get him a sticker, it's fine, just one lap. But I just never did drag racing.
No.
I just try. Yeah, this is something different.
Hey, but you said you were that you love, before we got the podcast, you said how much you love the US. So I don't know. But
I wanted to do NASCAR. I was crazy about it. I wanted to do a Richard Petty experience. I went to all the tracks I could if I was there on vacation. I was in Orlando, and also I was at the Las Vegas Speedway. I was driving there as well with the Lamborghini. And I had And I had a NASCAR ride as well, but couldn't drive, unfortunately, myself. But this is what I definitely want to have it on my list. And I also want to visit a NASCAR race. I've just only visited an ERL race, the Champ Car. I was sitting in rain for 4 hours in Portland once I was at my student exchange, and this was pretty amazing. But this will come hopefully soon to watch a NASCAR race when all the fans are back, because this is the experience you want.
Right.
And I just did drifting. I went to Sweden for drifting on ice lakes. I love drifting, and I started with that.
You did that with what? With Lamborghini? Because I know Lamborghini has that program.
No, with BMW. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty fucking awesome too. The BMW here. And where was it not in Germany, obviously. Is it up north? Is it like somewhere
in Sweden?
In Sweden, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, and Arjeplog in their testing center. So that I just booked myself in for the driving experience and did 5 days drifting on a snowy, icy lake.
So jealous. How does that work? Because I've always wanted to figure out exactly. I know there's one here in North Carolina or something that is used with the track that they built to test all to train and to test all the cars. But that one is amazing. How does that even work? Do you just show up? You pay for a week, show up and get into the car and have fun?
Yeah. Exactly. You just pay the driving experiences, and I also made my instructor there. But I didn't instruct in Sweden. I just was a participant, and I just drove 5 days on a lake. So I had this in 2011, and I wanted to do it in 2016 again. So I saved all my money to do this because it's quite expensive, but it's just so worth it. It's so amazing, and this is why I really like to do this drifting stuff more often. But I don't have the car for this, so this is only if I have vacation and budget left, and I do these kind of experiences. Yeah. And
how much was it? Because I have to ask you, how much was it?
Yeah, it's around 4,000 euros.
Okay, that's not. And is it 3 days, a day, 2 days,
5 days?
1 day? Oh, 5 days. So that's awesome. That's amazing. That's like basically $500-$600, almost $800-$700. I'm really bad at math. Like $700 a day, I think, something like that.
Yep.
That's not bad at all. That's pretty amazing. Cool. And it's all year. Oh, is it what 12 out of the year?
No, they just only have it from November, or let's say December until February, because then the lake is really melting quite quickly due to, of course, the environmental changes. That's what they also experienced there. This is the problem. So it has to be really thick. Otherwise, they have to cancel it. So last time it was only January and February, and they couldn't even do March. So it really depends on the circumstances and the conditions there.
Wow. And what car or do they E46s, E92s?
M4.
Oh, M4. Okay, cool. So F80. Nice.
M4. It's really cool. Yeah.
That must have been so much fun. Wow.
It is.
And do they have
You have to do it one day, really. You have to do it.
Oh, no, are you kidding? Listen, one of the things that I was going to say was that one of the other dreams that I had is to go rallying. So Le Mans rally is like, for me, is there at the top. That's where I want to be. So, but again, money is, green paper with serial numbers is the problem. So that's because for me, that's what it is. I don't care what it is. It's what it can do, what you do with it that matters, I think there's a lot of people in this world today that are just concentrating on just the money itself and having it in the bank and build up this hundreds of billions of dollars. And who cares if you're not doing anything amazing with it? Who gives a shit how much paper you have in a bank? So that's.
We have to all live in a sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well that's really amazing. I'm super jealous and I hate you. So let's go on to the next. I'm joking. So number 4. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. One last thing. So on that third question, there was like a second question to it, which was your first race at the Nurburgring and the comparison to now that you've had several times to be able to start mastering the green hell.
Yeah, so the first race was in the rain. I was pretty overwhelmed by all the cars around me because it's still different there. If you have to master your line, and also you have the radio, and also you have to just get on the fuel pump and all that stuff, you don't forget about it. So that was quite intense, but it was fun. Right now, I'm more relaxed when I drive there because I know how to let people pass, even the GT3 cars, so that I don't freak out and just leave my line. So that's much easier for me right now. And also my car is faster, so I can just better prepare myself on track and don't lose time for this. And overtaking is easier as well. I would say I have more round vision, and I know parts of the track I have to drive in wet and dry conditions. So now I'm just trying to find my last seconds to master. Some of the corners I really don't like at all and probably will never like, but I still try to master them and also have the data right now because I didn't have the data to analyze it. And the last 3 races, I had the chance to really read it out and see where I'm slower than my partners, also my teammates. So this makes it easier to prepare yourself. Yeah.
Right. And I have to ask you, so this is with what car? I'm sorry, that you did your first race in.
The BMW Z4, and now I
Oh,
drive
okay.
the M240i. Yeah.
M2. Oh, that's fucking awesome. The M2. I mean, are you kidding? The M2 is BMW 5. Well, again, second podcast, but the M2 and I think everybody that knows is BMW's last try to go back to the glory days of actually making a real driver's car. You know, a
Yeah.
proportioned, a correct proportion, not gigantic, because the M4 and the M4 and the M3 they're just the cars have gotten so big. The frames are huge, and there's just so much weight behind the cars, and it's too much. So the M2, I think, was the M department's last stand to try to really, hey, let's go back to what we used to do, which was the ultimate driving machine.
Exactly.
That was a
One of my
slogan at
dream
one point.
cars. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. And then my last question is, if you will be modifying or have modified any of your cars, and if so, what type of performance modifications are you planning on doing, and how are you able to fund one of the most expensive passions in the world, passions in the world like automotive racing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it will be a quick answer, but we have to just continue our podcast somewhere else then. But the quick answer would be I just need to do my exhaust on my car, so that will be a sporting exhaust. I definitely need to, and also I want to have the suspension done to have it more sporty and also a bit more reliable. That's what I need to do on my car still next year when I have some financial backing, and then I just finance, as I said, everything myself. So. That's why it's tricky, but I still have some jobs to do, which I really like. I do commentate on races. I also do reporter in a pit. So I just interviewed some people. I have as well a podcast I'm part of. I just wrote journalistic articles. I just had test drives with cars. I did the coaching. So I have stuff beside my normal day job, which I try to do to finance my racing passion. Yeah.
Awesome. To me, you're a jack of all trades, as we say here in the U.S. As far as a jack of all trades in the automotive industry, that's amazing.
Yeah, try to do it. I love it.
Very good. So you said you have a podcast, or you yourself do a podcast, or?
I'm part of a podcast, yeah, because there are
you
interview as well, racing drivers, and also it's a ladies' talk, so to say. I just have females in different kind of sports, which are interviews. So yeah, that's also what I do.
So males are just not allowed. Okay.
Yeah, they are in the normal one, but this is just a big in sports podcast. It's called, and then we have the ladies section, which is the ladies' talk, where I'm the only host. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you definitely are a natural podcaster, so I can see why.
Thank you.
Very cool. So Laura, I think it's 10:55 here. I think you said that we were going to have an hour. Do you still have 5 minutes, or you have to go?
I have to jump. Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay, fantastic. Laura, if you want to just kind of put out maybe just your IG or where if anybody wants to obviously just kind of have a conversation with you or anything like that, any type of hashtag. You did say one hashtag already, so if you want to put that out there just so it's on the podcast, and then I can go ahead and end the podcast.
Perfect. So pretty much if you want to follow me, then the best thing would be to do Instagram. It's Laura _Luft _racing. And my hashtag is passion per definition. You can also find me better maybe on Instagram if you search for the hashtag. And I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I have Snapchat and TikTok, but I'm not really active on those. So the best thing would be Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. And also YouTube channel, but this is not really up and running. I just have so many stuff in the pipeline. I need to go and put this out there, but yeah, that's a time factor. I try to do it as well end of this year. So, but yeah, Instagram is the easiest part to find me. Yeah, thank you.
Well, with the YouTube channel, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a collation, because that's what I've been trying to finally get up. Is my next step is the YouTube channel that I want to build. So
we can do both stuff.
I can help you out. Awesome, amazing stuff there too. Laura, it was amazing to speak to you. We're going to have several podcasts after this, because we have to talk about, like I said, we have to talk about the BMW world. We have to talk about Some of the other topics that we said we have to do other podcasts on, like the electric cars thing, that would be amazing. So we'll definitely set those up, and you let me know when you have time. And it was amazing. And thank you so much for being on the Flat Out Investments podcast.
Thank you for your invitation, Alpi.
You're welcome. Oh, okay, awesome. Well, we will talk to you. We'll catch you on the. I don't know when do you want me to kind of communicate with you again? Maybe in the next week, 2 weeks. It's on your very busy schedule.
Yeah, so I will just next week I'm super busy because all the weekend and all the evenings are full. But the week after, so from the 12th onwards, I still have some slots. And where we can have probably also later in the day some ideas to catch up. Of course, yeah, that would be good. But or I just book in some time slots directly if that's okay.
Sure, you can do that too. Yep.
Oh,
just like you did the first one. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, I'll let you go,
so
and
much.
good luck with what you're doing. And I really, I can't even express the words that describe the type of person that you are. As far as, women representing in racing, I think it's one of the best things that's probably ever has happened in the automotive world, because something that for a while we needed girls like you to go out there and represent and show that men are not the only guys that have the racing talent. In some cases, women can actually be much faster than the guys as well. So
perfect. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Talk to you soon, and thank you. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.